Okay, so first things first, the PDA. I've seen a lot of people overlook what I consider very useful functions of the PDA. And what do I mean by that? Well, simply put, I'm used to people using this part correctly. Completed, failed, all that stuff. The map, there's one thing I'm going to get into here in just a sec. And diary, there's not a lot here. Just miscellaneous stuff. I don't need to go over that. Sidrovich covers it. Contacts, however, is a tab I see people either misusing, ignoring, or maybe not using to its fullest. Because this is not a list of stalkers you have met. This is a list of stalkers in your immediate area. This is basically the active PDA tab, if you want to think of it that way. You can see what it shows. I'm not going to dwell too much on that, but there is one thing I want to show off real quick, but I'm not going to show off here in the Rookie Village. I'm actually going to hop over to the bridge not far from here, because I believe there should be a loner there. Okay, so here you can see, as I run up, there's one stalker in the area, and it is this Borea tarantula. You really can't make these names up sometimes. And despite the fact that he has done absolutely nothing to us, well, maybe we'll let him get himself killed. Let's see what happens. And you'll notice that right now he's got the normal picture and everything else. Okay, so he scared off the dogs. Well, unfortunately for him... Oh, he's got a friend coming. Well, possibly a friend. Someone that does not want to kill us at the moment. Who I also don't know where they're going. You have to make this difficult.
Оружие убрал.
Go away, dogs. No one likes you. Now, you just noticed that I said go away. Both of their profile pictures, or whatever you want to call them, just turned red, and understandably they're now enemy because I shot them without provocation. And this is true of basically anyone in the area. If there's a firefight going on, you can sit here behind cover and just watch as people's images get that red hue to it. And, you know, when either it's all said and done or they've all killed each other, you'll know exactly who's left standing, if anyone. Now, there is a small glitch associated with the next tab, which is the ranking, which can be useful if one of the unique named stalkers is up here. Sometimes they will show up as being dead. This picture will have that red hue to it, even though they're not dead. I've had it where one of these guys was standing right in front of me and it said he was dead. So this isn't a guaranteed way to guarantee or to see if they're dead, but it can be useful if you need them for a quest. Statistics, just while we're out here. Reputation in the vanilla game is broken. Do you mind? Statistics is broken, as in you can have terrible reputation despite not doing what I did earlier, which is just shoot stalkers that have done absolutely nothing to you, or even done any of the kill the stalker missions. You can have a terrible reputation even though you've done nothing to warrant it. And there are times where you go from one area to the next, and simply transitioning between those two areas takes you from terrible to excellent. And that's because you've basically overloaded the reputation counter in the background. Encyclopedia, I'm not going to open a lot of tabs here, at least in this episode. I'm going to cover some of these tabs later. This updates just as you check bodies, interesting tidbits of the alternate history for the zone. You can learn about factions, locations. If you ever are curious about anything that Sidorovich has mentioned, you can always reopen this. It also covers the things like attitude, where if you basically run around being, do you mind? Piss off. As I was saying, attitude where you can have multiple people angry at you for one mission that you do, and I'll cover that more in depth in a later episode. But this is just a handy tool to not mess up. And I just heard the PDA beat, so let's go see if these people... Alright, it's been updated. Person that's coming I don't need to worry about. And yeah, the Encyclopedia, as it updates, it's a good idea to check. I'm not going to say there's spoilers in the Encyclopedia, but it's entirely possible to get entries on something you have not yet encountered, which can help you prepare for it, help you determine if you want to take someone's job that points you directly at it, and can also tell you about how rare something may be. And as I said previously, I got everything in all of these updates is without crossing the railroad embankment. Now, next thing I want to show you has to do with the map. I don't believe I have any stashes lying around. Have I discovered any stashes yet? I do not appear to have found any stashes. And this is a handy thing when it behaves properly. There are times where you can have it center on you after panning around and change areas, and it will still be centered on where you were. Another thing to note is the zoom is inverted. So if you use your scroll wheel forward, it zooms out. Scroll back towards you, it zooms in. But the next thing I'm going to show you actually has to do with this job. Alright. We're here. Not going to actually cross the railroad embankment. Probably not even going to check the guy's body. I'm just hoping that this dog doesn't come back. And you'll notice that the mini-map in the upper left corner, if you keep that enabled, uses the same icons as the actual PDA map, with the exception of you're a white dot instead of... Yes, there. Instead of the blue directional arrow. And something to note is when you're on the same level, or like if you're in a building on the same floor, the icon will show up exactly this green target, and if it's your active objective, it will have that ring around it. I can go and just have it track that, and the little ring goes away, or I can have it do that. I'm trying to stay on the mission tab as little as possible in case you don't immediately say, give me the next job. Now, if it is higher than me, which I should be able to pull off, yeah, which I can pull off by going down to this lower tree, you'll notice it becomes this white starburst. And that's uniform for all the mission objectives. All the mission objectives that are above you will have that white starburst. So if you go to an area and it's telling you to pick something up or to kill someone, and it's got this white starburst look to it, pause off, then you know you have to go up. And conversely, I wonder if I can, let's just go over it directly. If you go higher than it, you'll notice it becomes this half starburst, or similar, and that will stay for everything that is below you. So if you go to an area and you can't find the objective, and it's got that little half starburst, look for ways to go down. And let's see if there's anything missing. Let's get somewhere slightly quieter. One thing to note is that this green bullseye that's around here will only happen for essential quests, like story quests or something similar. All the other ones will be purple, and they'll either have a purple person or a purple like campsite, like a tent, and we'll have one of those icons instead. And it will have, similar to this mission, switch over to the map for that. Scroll out. This is the return here for your reward. That's constant across the board. That is always going to be your return here for payment. And last but not least, while we're out here in the rain, let's briefly go over some of the HUD. Most of this should be self-explanatory. The only thing I want to point out, for those of you that have never played any kind of shooter before, be it Fallout, Call of Duty, whatever, you've got your armor condition above your health bar, and we'll cover that symbol that's floating over in the corner in another video. And as your armor degrades, you become less resistant to damage. Yeah, big surprise, I know, right? The other thing that's very important is the minimap in the upper left. And you'll notice as I go away from my current objective, it should, in a little bit, display a distance to it. There we go. It now displays a distance to my objective. at least until I enter, I believe it's 20-meter radius. At about 20 meters, no, I stand very corrected, about 65 meters, it just goes away entirely. The only other thing to note is that box at the bottom of your map, assuming you don't turn that off, because it is possible with mods to completely turn off your heads-up display. That, you might have noticed earlier, has a number that displays in it, and that directly lines up with the number of contacts in the area. If it's blank, there's no contacts. It does not distinguish friendly, neutral, or hostile. It is just the sheer number of contacts in the area. And for the last bit of the HUD, which will go right into damage resistances, your inventory. Your carry weight is not a hard, you cannot go above this. You can go 10 kilograms over that number, and it is possible either through mods or if you feel like editing game files to increase your carry capacity. You've got your secondary, sidearm, and a slot that holds up to 5 artifacts. And if that's another boar, let me check to see if I have a grenade, because I'm tired of boars interrupting me. You've got your money, your statuses, and this blue bar is not the same as that blue bar. It is not the same as your armor durability. To get your armor durability, you actually click on marked one here, and this condition, which I'll explain more in depth in a later video, is that blue bar. This specific blue bar is your stamina, but that's still your health. And as you can see down here, you've got this long list of things that this suit specifically gives additional resistances to. I have since ditched the leather jacket you start with, and I'm reiterating, you can find all of this without crossing the railroad embankment. I have not cheated, I've not used consoles, I just know where to find it. I don't think I've even attacked the military. Most of these are self-explanatory. Certain anomalies will have the chemical burn, electric shock. The what I would call critical ones to understand are impact. What's that noise? Are impact, rupture, and radiation. Because radiation resistance, as the name suggests, like a lot of these, is the amount that your suit protects you from radiation. But that is a different radiation from what this. Because this says -10. That is not -10 from radiation, your resistances. That is -10 radiation from this bar every second or so. Just like the bleeding has nothing to do with down here, but instead increases how quickly you can bleed yourself to death. Same thing here, and the endurance for this one covers both your like how long you can sprint, your effective sprinting, as well as how fast your stamina, which is underneath your player icon, I guess you'd call it. Like when I'm sprinting. Status icon. It determines how fast that goes down. One final word about the damage and about the HUD, since I just remembered it. Rupture is mostly beasts like the dogs and boars that have been giving me no shortage of interruptions. And impact, which is the anomaly that just got triggered. A few anomalies, and basically falling, which there are ways to exploit that to your advantage, but I'm not covering that in this series. And the last word that I'm going to use to make what I would consider a rather funny end is something with hostiles that show up on your mini-map up there in the corner. And this is probably going to get me killed, which is why I'm kind of glad I saved it for the end. Because there's a firefight over there with the military. And I'm going to deliberately walk into that and probably get killed. Just to demonstrate one thing. You notice that as he showed up in my line of sight, his thing, his little red dot showed up red. That's a great way to spot people through. Yeah, and it just disappeared. Walk forward, there he is. And as I just stay within sight range, it will keep flashing to say, hey, there he is. And you can use that to spot enemies through bushes and stuff. And the last thing is most definitely going to get me killed, because I'm going to piss off the military, which is something that... What the... Watch... Actually, I'm going to back up a little bit. Watch the mini-map as they shoot me, because they are going to shoot me. I'm going to make sure of it. If they hit me. Ukrainian military, everybody. There you go. You see that red cone? I'm actually surprised I'm not in dire straits. That red cone is another great way. Here, shoot me in the back. There you go. It lines up with where the shot came from. So if suddenly you get shot out of nowhere, to be completely honest, I'm surprised I'm not dead. It's a great way to figure out where they came from, assuming the shot doesn't kill you instantly. Yeah, I'm running away. Well, on that note, I'm going to continue to back away from the military until they stop chasing me. And I will just leave that until the next episode.